In this training, you will learn how to collect data, review, and record time in our PeopleSoft Absence Management module. Your role as the timekeeper is to collect data, review it, and get it ready for your validator to sign and approve every month. All employees have access to self-report their time in the system, with the exception of faculty or instructional roles. While they are not available at this time to access self-reporting, we hope that it will be coming in the near future. Let's go ahead and get started. On this slide, we get a preview of what the reporting flow looks like in the PeopleSoft system. The cloud at the top left represents the departments. How the departments collect their data is slightly different. The end result is that you are prepared for an audit. The employee self-reports their time. The timekeeper to the right does an analysis, does a review. If no correction is needed, then it goes to the validator for approval. Notice that both the timekeeper and the validator access is similar. They can both review, they can also enter on behalf of an employee. However, only the approver can approve the final submission. Once the final submission is approved in PeopleSoft, payroll completes the process and finalizes the monthly submission for absence management. These are samples of forms that you may encounter as a timekeeper. The 634 on the left is the state of California 634 that is typically used if there is a dock, somebody doesn't have enough time to cover vacation, or if somebody is getting paid out for something, maybe for overtime. There's also another 634 that's the CSUSB 634 that's used for corrections. The form on the right, which you may not see often, if an employee's work schedule is changing, typically we work Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. Someone may be working Tuesday through Friday, 4 days a week, 40 hours a week. If there's a change in the standard schedule, payroll must be notified. This is a good opportunity for me to remind you to find out who your payroll technician is. If you do not know who that is, please visit the payroll website to find out the name of your payroll technician and get acquainted with them. They will be valuable to your role as a timekeeper at CSUSB. The following categories are submitted on the 634 for payment. Hourly employees that are not under a salaried monthly check, any overtime being paid out, shift differential, excess hours. Your payroll technician will guide you if a 634 is needed. As you become familiar with the process on our campus, you will feel much more comfortable when you need to submit a 634 for payment. As a general reference, there are some bargaining units that currently do not self-report. This slide identifies some of those bargaining units that may be represented in your department. When an employee is not eligible to self-report, the timekeeper must report on their behalf in the system. If you have additional questions, please contact your office manager or your payroll technician. Jury duty. Employees are required to report to serve jury duty. When this occurs, your employees must provide you with a slip from the courthouse as validation of their participation. When your employee has more than one business day in attendance You must report and send documentation to the General Accounting Office noted on this slide. Next is an example of an absence management calendar. Please visit the payroll website to access the most current absence management calendar deadlines for the current year. Note that dates or period of dates are included and the approval deadline. That deadline is the deadline that your approver should have completed all the approvals by the end of the day. In the next couple of slides, you will begin to learn about the navigation in PeopleSoft, and one of the topics that we will cover is how to run a report. When this deadline approaches, we encourage you to run a report to ensure there are no outstanding unapproved absences before the close of the deadline day, as payroll will need to close the calendar to prepare for the new month. You will access absence management by logging into your MyCoyote portal. In the portal, you will access administrative systems, then PeopleSoft HR. Once you have completed all of the requirements to gain access to absence management, in your PeopleSoft HR menu, on the left, you will see Manager Self-Service. In addition, you should see your role as a timekeeper. Timekeeper balance inquiry, report time, and timekeeper absence review. We do not use managed schedules. Also, there are a couple of points I'd like to highlight. Your favorites, you can set up favorites to this particular page or to specific pages. For example, timekeeper absence entry. I'm going to navigate to the page first, and once I navigate to that page, I will save it as a favorite. Currently, depending on the size of your department, it may take time to load the list of employees. If you have a small department, this won't take very long. Now, once I have reached the page that I want to save as a favorite, I will select favorites and select add to favorites, and I can name it as I wish. I'm going to click OK, and now it's been saved. There's a navigation link in the top right that takes you back to the home page where we started. If I go to my favorites, I can select my favorite. There were previously saved favorites with the similar name, so it'll take us directly to that page. A couple of other options that are available in the top menu include not only home, add to favorites on the right, and sign out. Make sure you always sign out of PeopleSoft and don't just X out of the browser. Each of the results page across all of the modules have sorting capability. You can sort by any of these column headers that are live links. In this example, this particular timekeeper has access to view a lot of rows of data. Typically, you will just view the data for your specific department. If you are seeing anything outside of your department, you should contact the campus compliance office to ensure that your security has been set up properly. As a timekeeper, you will want to enter on behalf of your employees that cannot self-report or who were unable to self-report for the current period. So we've navigated to the manager self-service, report time, timekeeper absence entry. You will note on this page that there's time management in the breadcrumbs. This is not on the main menu. However, once you begin to navigate, the time management breadcrumb will take you to the various locations that you will need as a timekeeper. Typically, your department is identified and you will select a group of individuals. You can go to the bottom of the page and select all or select a small group of individuals that you're working. I will select a few in this example and continue. Also notice at the bottom of the page the buttons that are available. Select all, deselect all, and continue. Typically, the page defaults to no leave taken, current period that's being reported, the open calendar that payroll has open. For this employee, in this example, they're a lecturer. Typically, academics have no leave taken unless they've reported a sick day. Again, each bargaining unit is different, so we ask that you speak with your payroll technician for any questions that you may have with reporting. The period is correct, the name of the person is correct. I'm going to click Submit. No changes here. Once that populates, it gives me a confirmation. If there was an error, it would state it here. Whenever you do get an error, don't worry, it's pretty self-explanatory. Now you can see that an existing absence event has been entered for this person and your name will appear here. Notice that we also see a trash can icon. In the event that there was an error, you would select the trash can icon and delete what you just entered. Once this row of data has been approved, you will not be able to delete it. However, your approver can delete it. Once it's reached the payroll closing process, payroll will need to direct you how to delete something that was entered in error, and typically you will submit it on a 634 correction form. We briefly spoke about these forms in the PowerPoint slides. Let's look at a couple of options with this employee. Based on their collective bargaining unit, they will have different options available. So I'm going to select jury duty, and notice that once I select an absence name, the system changes the begin and end date. Previously, for no leave taken, it was the full month. But because it's jury duty, it's assuming we just took 1, 2, 3, 10 days. In this case, I'm going to use the calendar icon. I'm going to select a date in August that this person had 1 day of jury duty. If this person was eligible to report partial days or partial hours, it would be listed here. You would select partial hours. Now please note with your exempt employees, this field box may be available, but exempt employees typically do not report partial hours. Please contact your payroll technician for additional information. If you are reporting partial hours for an employee, this is where you could enter that. In addition, you can add comments. Everything in the system is auditable. There are some takes or leaves that require a comment. Typically, it's a relationship, for example, child, parent, etc. Calculate duration allows you to look at the absence duration totals. So they should match with what you've entered. This is what an error or an alert or a warning would look like. This is saying your partial hours includes a holiday which are being charged against your leave absence. We're in a testing scenario, going to just go ahead and click calculate duration. After a while, you may not use this calculate duration, but that's what it's available for. Timesheet link, do not click, we do not use it. So in this case, I'm going to submit this because this is what was accurate based on my records as the timekeeper. Notice at the bottom of the page you have navigation to return to the employee list. Next employee or previous is grayed out, but when I go to the next employee, it'll allow me to come to the previous. I'm going to select submit, and it accepted it. Those are the basics for reporting on behalf of an employee. Again, depending on the different leaves that are being taken, you will know if a comment is required. Also notice that in the balance column, if there is a balance accrued, you will be able to see it based on the selection of the leave. If comments are required, it will highlight add comments in red, and you will provide the required comments. Remember, everything in the system is auditable, so we ask that you are brief and directly respond to the inquiry being requested by the system. Now that we've entered time on behalf of employees as the timekeeper, the next step is to review entries that have been self-reported. Manager self-service, timekeeper absence review. Previously, we were under absence entry. We're going to go to absence review. Again, the employee list will load. We will select the employees that we wish to review and continue. In the results on the reported absences page, you will spend most of your time in this reviewed status column. Please note that this icon is the Excel download icon, so anything in any modules on the current page that you are reviewing, you can download that data into an Excel spreadsheet. So here's a couple of things. As you look at the information on the employee, you can see details about the information. This review status that's set to reviewed indicates that you, the timekeeper, have already reviewed it. So this was one of the entries that we entered as a timekeeper. You can go back and double check your entries to make sure that everything's okay. If something is not correct, you'll need to set it to needs correction. When you set something to needs correction, two things happen. One, an email is sent to the employee, so you want to add a comment. And in the add comment, you want to set it up like an email. So date to from, specify clearly what the status is. I set this to needs correction for further research, no action required by employee. Or I need you to contact the timekeeper at, and then you provide your information and also provide a deadline. If the employee does not respond by that deadline, you can indicate in your message, if I do not hear from you by close of day X, Y, and Z, I will go ahead and submit the change on your behalf. So there will be multiple reasons why you might want to do this. You would save the comment. Make sure you put it in as an email. There's not an email template, so that the employee should be receiving clear information. You save your comments, add comment changes to edit comment. Your approver will also see the comments that you have entered. The second point here, when you change it to needs correction, it prevents the approver from approving. Your primary focus is on these blank entries. This entry under review status is blank because it was self-reported by an employee. These are the ones that you have not reviewed. So as you go through and check them, if everything looks correct, you set it to reviewed. You will have a process within your department, calendar. There are different processes that you will follow in your department on how employees will notify you of their absences. Make sure that you have documentation for everything, as everything is auditable. And remember, documentation doesn't have to be a printed piece of paper. It can be an email that's archived in a folder that can be accessible to an auditor. Once you've gone through and checked everything, you will set them to review. Your validator has been trained not to approve any blank statuses, and the system blocks them from approving any needs corrections. However, the system does not block your approver from approving a blank status. So please make the time to go through and look at every item that's been entered in detail. Again, if you have any questions about an entry and you can't get it clarified by the employee, please go to the manager and discuss what your concerns may be. Once you have completed the process, then you'll be able to submit them. Entry comments. These are comments that have been entered by the employee. The relationship is required. You can see what that comment is. In this case, for this training scenario, I have not gone through all of them, but I was just providing an example. When I get to the bottom of my list, I can just submit it, and it will accept any changes that I've made. Of course, in your department, you want to make sure every month you are checking every single row of data. The results have returned. Again, some timekeepers may want to archive what they've entered, and you can download this to Excel. We have two main steps left. For the monthly processing, you will start by reporting time. We covered how you can go in and report time. We looked at how you can review time by going into Approve Time and Exceptions by selecting the Review option. Next, I'm going to review Timekeeper Balance Inquiry. This is a page that will help you reconcile whenever there's a discrepancy with someone's balances for sick vacation or personal holiday. Typically, when you come to this page, there is not a search button. In order to get the search button, you will need to refresh the list. But before I do that, I'd like to highlight some of these fields. You're not going to search by individual departments. Typically, it's going to be the department that you have security to view. And typically, you won't look by a specific employee. But what is important is the payroll status. HR status is only active. There's only one option. But under payroll status, you have active leave, suspended, leave with pay, work break. If any of your employees are under any of these payroll status categories, you will need to run a separate view for those employees. So if someone who is on suspended and I run it for active, they will not show up. The other important link here is the graduated vacation chart. This allows you to view vacation accrual rates and also vacation and CTO credits based on bargaining unit and years of service. So take some time to look this over once you have gained access to your department. Notice that in the top left of the screen it says press escape to return. We encourage you, rather than using the back browser, to use the indicators provided in the system. I am now going to select refresh the employee list. It's going to provide me with some information regarding security, that it's building based on my security, and I'm going to click OK. You may have to do this periodically. The system will automatically prevent you from searching until you have refreshed. The benefits of refreshing is if you have employees leaving your department or new employees coming in, especially if you're in an academic department, you're going to want to refresh on a regular basis as each semester term starts and ends. That's going to change with your adjunct faculty. We now have a search button, and our last refresh is effective the date that we refreshed it. So I'm going to select search for active employees. We have some results, and notice that at the top of the page we have some tabs: absence balances, compensatory time, state service for absences. This icon will allow you to merge all three of these columns. I'm not going to do that, but you can go ahead and try it when you have your access. Notice that the download icon is available if you wish to download all the data on the page. The account balance page or tab is where we are right now. And on this page, it provides the payroll status, employee information, the EMPL record number. All employees' record numbers begin with a 0, then 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I have a 4 by my record number, for example, let's just look at this one. This is number 2. This person actually has 3 records because their count starts with the 0. What that means is that they've worked in 3 different departments. For your department, this is the record number that applies. Next, we see the union code. Department should be something you're familiar with. That's your department ID for the HR portion in absence management. Department IDs on the budget side do not have the F or the S. The F and the S indicates staff. F indicates student or faculty. So F will typically be where there's an RO3, which represents a faculty unit or union code. As of this particular balance, this is what this employee has for sick, vacation, and personal holiday. Let me mention a little bit about personal holiday. It is not the responsibility of the timekeeper to remind employees to take their personal holiday. It is a courtesy during maybe September, October to remind your employees. If they don't use that personal holiday by December 31st, they will lose it. The same with vacation accruals. When we looked at the vacation graduated chart, there's a maximum of vacation that you can carry on the books through the end of the year. The details link, when you select the details link, it'll provide you a month-by-month activity for this person's accrual records or takes. You can see what's been earned, and if something's taken, what's been taken. If there's been donated time, you'll see it here. If you have any questions about anything that appears to be inaccurate, please contact your payroll technician. Vacation. I selected vacation while on the details page. I'm going to return to the absence balance page. so that I can see all of the details for this employee. Now that I've completed reviewing details, I will select Return at the bottom left to return where we started. Compensatory time, if your employee is eligible for CTO overtime, it will be indicated and accrued here. State service for absences, this is months served in the CSU. So we've just covered the points for timekeeper balance inquiry. Remember, payroll status is an important feature to select. And if you do not have a search button, you'll have to refresh your list. The last topic we are going to cover is running reports. If you have any questions about any of these processes, please connect with your department manager or your payroll technician. To begin running reports, we are going to go Home, and from the main menu, we're going to navigate through a different process. Global Payroll and Absence Management, Multi-Report under CSU AM Inquiry. The system defaults to find an existing value. Once you've set up your reports the first time, you will always go to find an existing value and click search. If you have any existing reports, they will be available here. We are going to add a new value and we will name it Department Absence Management. It is important that you do not use blank spaces. Always use an underscore and add. This process for reports will ask is, what do you want to do? So you're going to run a department report. So you're going to identify a specific department in your area. You will know what your department is, your department ID. If you have faculty and staff, you will have to set up two separate departments. Remember the S and the F. So FS represents the staff. I'm not going to put a period in here because I'm going to run a different period every month. I'm going to want reported absences not approved for sure, but you can also ask for other data. I'm going to go ahead and select the 3 and click Save. Whenever I come to my multi-report page, it will save my run control ID, and all I need to do is identify a period. I am going to run this for July through August. You can just do 1 month at a time. It's your preference. I'm not going to save this because I've already saved my run control ID. But what I want to do next is submit my report after I select my period. And once I submit it, it'll queue my report request. Run status will change as I select refresh. You can also log out of the system and come back. It may take 5 minutes, it can take 15 minutes. It just really depends. It's going to go from queued to processing, and then when it's completed, we'll see the run status change one more time for us. To set up reports in PeopleSoft, this is pretty much the same way you would do it, maybe using a slightly different navigation, but you'll have always a run control ID, and then you will submit your request once you've entered your data. Notice that now my report is a success and it's been posted. I'm going to select Details. Upon selecting Details, I want to go under Actions on the bottom right here and select View Log Trace to access my reports. And they're listed right down here at the bottom. As you get familiar, you're going to be looking at the CSV reports. So these are reported absences, no leave taken for RO3s, which are typically a faculty category, no leave taken in general, and then not approved absences. Each month, based on the deadline of the calendar that we spoke about early in this training, you want to make sure everything has been approved. So this report should be blank, meaning everybody's been approved, payroll can begin the process. You do not want to leave unapproved absences lingering in the system, as it will delay payroll from closing and opening up the new month. I'm also going to select the reported absences and download. Report is blank. That's what I'm looking for in my results. We went in and approved the absences that were submitted. The next report were absences reported, and we can see everything that's been reported for this period. Get comfortable with running your reports. Don't be afraid to run them. Play with them. Get familiar with your data. Thank you. This concludes this training. This curriculum will have some additional material available for you that you can refer to. Most importantly, the training guide. Please download the training guide. Make sure you contact your payroll technician, find out who that is, and communicate with them. Get to know who they are, as they will be vital to your role as a timekeeper at CSUSB.